right, y'all, come on in and let's have us another visit here on the Humbl Show. I am Grant Fletcher, and this week I am being joined by my co-host Brandon Cox. Moonbeam is out this week, but we're here for another visit, another little hangout here. Brandon, how are you?
Hey, as per usual, doing cool, you know?
Yeah, things are rolling at the Grindhouse, and it's a real big to-do. It's a real big shebang there, real big shindig there. So, sometimes it just be like it is. And, hey, man, what we soldier on, though. We do what we got to do.
Every time I go to the Grindhouse and I talk to Moonbeam, the sentiment is always, oh, my God, we're doing, like, it's not like they're doing too good. It's just like, oh, my God, we're doing very well.
We're doing well. Things are crazy.
It's a huge success.
Yeah, that's good. I love that. I love all that.
Yeah, I saw today whenever I went to my kitchen at my place of work, there was a coffee cup with a Grindhouse, like little cardboard sleeve on it, which is always such a good feeling. Everybody's getting in on the action.
Nice. Love that. Yeah, dude, it's things are rolling at the Grindhouse here. I'm lining you up right now as we're talking. That's why if people are like looking at us on YouTube, like, what's going on? Well, it's because I ran in here at the very last second to record.
Technical tragedy.
And sometimes when you do that, things get a little jostled around. Things get moved around or whatever else. And the problem is, right, here's the problem. And if you're watching on TikTok, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll kind of know. Not the problem. The issue, the thing at hand here that we need to talk about is that Uncle Bob is sitting over Brandon's shoulder as he normally is.
Yeah.
Taking a little snooze there, taking a little nap, and we got to frame him up. If we're going to have this conversation, we have to frame up Uncle Bob. So I need to make
Bob,
sure
how
that he's
you doing?
in there. And he's not even moving. There he is. I
love you.
Just in time to see his little cat face spin around there. Perfect.
Yeah.
If you're listening, you have no idea what we're talking about, and that's fine if you are. But otherwise, I feel like the show would not be complete if
I just
take advantage of it.
I just woke up my Uncle Bob.
You did. You woke up your Uncle Bob up, and now he's giving a big stretch. And oh no, he's just getting comfortable again. Okay, he's good.
Yeah, he's good.
All right. Well, anyway, do you have a song recommendation for us? Do you have a song recommendation for the Humbl Show?
I have two song recommendations. One would be Glass Shards by the band Wormrot off of their latest album, Hiss. It is, I feel like grindcore is a really difficult genre to get into. It's purposefully some of the most harsh, angular, noisy, messy, hateful music around. But while this song is all those things, it also has an impeccable violin solo on it. Really, really good violin solo. It's not cheesy in a cinematic sort of like string quartet sort of fashion. It really adds to everything that's happening. It gives you chills, you feel it up your spine. It's really great. It's the closing track off of that album, Hiss. I saw the other day, shortly after that album was released back in 2022, I think it was, the vocalist quit very amicably, it seems. And then a few days ago, I'm like, oh, they just recently released a live video. It was the guitarist, the drummer, and a couple of guest vocalists. I'm like, all right, they're still kicking. And then like about a week or two after that performance, the drummer quit. So I think on Instagram the post was like, hey, we as in me, we are going to build the band from the ground up. We're going to build it back from the ground up. I would say that the other song that I would have to say is a recommendation of mine is a song called Come Around by a band called Dr. Bison. I would say it's possibly one of the top 5 punk songs ever released. It's really, really good. It was originally just like released, I think, on like a split 7-inch single, just a kind of a throwaway, and it's just another song that gives me chills. It's just so powerful the entire time, but it's very melodic. It has a great, great melody. It's amazing. I feel like everybody should listen to that as well as Worm Rot.
I love it. I like all that. It's good. You know what I'm going to go with? I don't think there's that deep of a story or it goes that far in on this one, but a song called Too Many Things by the Linda Lindas. That's what I'm going to recommend today. It's a fun song. Lindas. It's got a good driving beat like we talked about before. You know, I like the Linda Lindas myself. Yeah. And Too Many Things by the Linda Lindas. It's a great song. It's a good one.
Any relation to Michael Michaels?
And then listen to Michael Michaels, yeah. Now that's George Michael's cousin, I believe. Yeah. What are you sipping on? What is
he's scaring the boys and girls of Philadelphia, Mississippi at the Grindhouse. Old Michael Michaels.
It's hanging out in the door there. Is this Colt 44? What are you drinking? Is that what that is? What do you have?
That is indeed a Colt 44.
Nice.
Not sponsored, but we could be sponsored.
We could be.
Shout out.
Hey, Colt 45. Listen, we're for Billy D. Williams. It could work for us too, okay?
Oh, yes.
Hey, I want to talk to you about something this week to see if you have any examples. I didn't prime you for this at all, but I kind of felt like you might have some thoughts on this.
Yeah.
And that's just the general concept of lost media. Things that we know that were aired on TV or played on the radio or were recorded or filmed in some kind of capacity, and yet for some reason just disappeared off the face of the earth. And, you know, like some examples of that might include, like, there's some early Doctor Who episodes that are lost media.
That will never be found.
Right.
They'll never be found.
Because back in the day, there was no concept of home media or you know, whatever. And so, like, studios or what have you that had these reels were like, oh, we don't have any room to store these anymore. They're making new ones. We really want the new ones, so we're just going to destroy the old ones. So they don't exist.
To my understanding, it was a little bit different. Like, not only was there no home video, there was no concept of like continuity. There was no concept of like, hey, maybe people will want to watch this years down the line. So I don't believe that they destroyed the footage. I think that they reused the film. If
they just recorded over
correctly.
It or whatever. Can you do that with that type of film back then? Maybe you could. I don't know.
Maybe.
I'm not a doctor.
Yeah, I'm no doctor. I have really mixed feelings about lost media, considering that I have watched a great deal of like lost media, like video compilations, not videos of lost media, but people talking about lost media. Yeah. And in a broader sense, it is incredibly interesting.
Yeah.
Because like you said, it's just, I mean, especially like some of the more like urban legendy lost media. You might have heard of this, but there was an episode of Sesame Street back in the 70s.
I was going to talk about this if you did.
Yeah. You want to take the lead on this one?
I mean, I can. I mean, really, the long and short of it is, like you said, it was like late 60s, early 70s, and the Wicked Witch came to Sesame Street, and it was a very, let's say, a very, very good, very spot-on performance, I guess. And
yes,
it was in fact too good because it was terrifying. Yeah, she still had it. It was the original witch, right? She still had it, played the character, terrified children in their homes. And so there are clips of it out there. You can find little snippets of it on the internet, but I think the whole episode is not available out there.
That's where you are wrong. So over the years, the video was shown at least partially in like convention sort of situations. But then I think it was a year or two ago, someone finally leaked the full episode.
Oh, okay.
And the internet went a little wild. It's pretty fantastic. And it's always so good to see the things that you think that, like, okay, this will forever remain in a vault. It'll never resurface. And then it did.
Yeah.
And see, that's the really exciting stuff. I love I love what they call these days lost wave, in that people post songs that they have like ripped off of cassettes, um, and that that they'll label like everything but that song, and it's like, okay, this sounds so familiar, it sounds so catchy. Who did this?
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Everyone Knows That?
No, I'm
Or
not.
uh,
I guess I'm the only one that does not know that.
So everyone knows that, aka ulterior motives, or ulterior motives. One of those.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a song that someone posted like back a decade or so ago, and it was a really like catchy, like 80s sounding pop rock tune. And for years, people like combed over, like, okay, what could this be? And in the beginning, there was speculation, like, I think it was this. And everyone was like, there's no speculation. That's just pure speculation. That's just a bunch of hooey. You don't know. And after years and years and years of searching, people were finally like, okay, that original guy might have been onto something. This sounds like it was from an adult video. And so people started scouring 80s adult videos, and as it turns out, it was from a late 80s adult video. But the thing is, so it was finally sourced. They got a good rip of it, and the original songwriters actually popped up. They were from like I don't know who they were, but like they were from like at least a somewhat noteworthy like 80s act, and they sold this song kind of out of desperation. I think it was after they moved to the US from Canada, maybe. I'm probably totally misremembering, but it was one of the few instances of the owners of the original Lost Media like getting in on it. Like apparently like their kids saw like how like people online were going crazy over it, and like, hey dad, I don't know if you know this, but you're the most famous person on the internet today. And it was really great to see them like, hey, yeah, look, if we can't find the original tape of it, sans the moaning in the background, we'll just re-record it.
Yeah, okay. That works too.
Yeah. Do you have any other examples of lost media that you find personally
Well, no,
interesting?
I just want to say real quick. I just like that someone just had it pegged, no pun intended, as just something coming from an adult. Like they're like, that just sounds like that's what it came from. It almost sounds like the story of Sweet Victory, the SpongeBob story.
Oh,
Because that guy, and his friends recorded that song, and then it just kind of sat for a while, and I think they might have sold it off, to a music library. I don't know if it was a desperation move. They just like, well, maybe someone will possibly use this one day, and it wouldn't be a wasted endeavor. And then the singer said that like he's at home one day, and his daughter comes running out of her bedroom, and she's like, "Dad, your voice is coming out of SpongeBob right now." And he was like, "What?"
that's amazing.
Yeah, he did not know that because a lot of times, like when those songs get bought, it's not necessarily like you don't know right away. Like eventually, a royalty check might find its way to you.
Yeah.
Or maybe it won't, depending on whatever the deal is. But yeah, that's really about it. There's a show out there. There was a show that ran from like 85 to 86, like 1 or 2 seasons, called Dumbo's Circus. Have you heard of this?
I have not. Tell me
It was like a
about
live action, like puppeteered type show, and Dumbo would fly in every episode, and they had Dumbo and all of the circus characters. And like, I think like Winnie the Pooh's on there. Jim Cummings is on the show.
Oh.
And it was a show that I've definitely seen reruns of, but it's a show that never, ever had a home video release. So there are like select episodes on the internet, but by and large, the show itself is lost. It's not on streaming. It's not whatever. You cannot find it anywhere. You can find screenshots, but can't find the whole series. So that's kind of like a weird kind of half and half one, I would say.
Yeah.
There is a lost wrestling match.
You are referring to the Smash Brothers, right?
No, not the Smash Brothers.
Oh, well, continue with yours, and I'll finish mine up.
Okay. Well, no. So there was this wrestler in the mid '80s.
Yeah.
Who was actually wasn't really a wrestler. He was a bodybuilder, is what he was. A guy by the name of Tom McGee. So, from a wrestling standpoint, the guy looked amazing, right? Totally jacked or whatever. But as far as his skill went, not so great. He did not do well, didn't really catch on. However, it was said that on what they used to call a house show, now they call them live events, is untelevised wrestling events, basically.
Yeah.
He had a match with Bret Hart, the self-proclaimed best there is, best there ever will be. And a lot of people will argue that that's true to this day.
Yeah.
And the story is that it was an amazing match. Like, this guy who was not good at all had this one amazing wrestling match.
Oh, that's such a good feeling.
And, a lot of times WWE will film those matches so the wrestlers can watch them back and see what they did and, get pointers or maybe say, well, that didn't work, but maybe we can try this next time, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it was understood that it was on tape somewhere, but no one knew where it was.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, the thing is though, everyone's like, well, yeah, after a while, everyone was like, well, yeah, of course he would have had an amazing match with Bret Hart because he's Bret Hart. Like, Bret Hart can just have, like, they're like, if you put Bret Hart in the wrestling ring with a broom, he would have an amazing match,
Yeah.
And so everyone was like, that's even a more impressive feat because Bret Hart was able to carry this entire other human being through a match, basically, to have an amazing outing.
Yeah.
And that happened in 1986. And it was a thing that would come up from time to time on the internet. But what's crazy is in 2019, someone found it.
Oh.
They from 86 to 2019. So what is that? Almost 30 years, something like that? No, a little over. Yeah. Basically, I want to say the story was like Bret Hart had a ton of tapes, just a big collection of tapes.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave them to someone and said, hey, can you digitize these for me? Can I have them on DVD or like on a hard drive or something like that? And in exchange, like, you can just keep the tapes. You can have them. They're all yours.
Yeah.
And they were going through the tapes. And I remember this because I remember seeing it posted it might have been on Twitter at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And they found a tape labeled Bret Hart versus Tom McGee, 1989. It was like mislabeled, 1989.
Yeah. So rather than 86, it was 89.
Right. And they said, and they like posted on Twitter, and they were like, y'all, holy shit. Like, look at
we
this.
We got it.
And like, ladies and gentlemen, we found him. And, and like posted, and everyone was like, oh my God, this can't be real. And they put it in, and they were like, yep, that's Bret Hart versus Tom McGee. And people were starting to think like, well, maybe that wasn't the one, because they did have another one later on that maybe wasn't as good. And that's why but eventually it was verified that was the one.
Yeah.
And like, to the point where like WWE was like, hey, we want that. And they made like a short, like 30-minute documentary on it. And I believe the two of them, Tom McGee even did a convention appearance at an event called StarCast, where they did a panel where the two of them sat down and they like reviewed the match.
Oh, now that's so cool.
Yeah. So it was a big deal when they found it. So it's probably on YouTube at this point in time, so you can watch it. But
man, I love that. I really do, because what are the odds?
Yeah.
What are the odds of that showing back up? Because like you said, it was not televised. It was just something that they filmed for reference.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, it was understood. Like, wrestling fans were like, it's understood that no one's ever going to see this thing.
So it's you mentioned the wrestling. Probably one of the biggest now that the Wicked Witch of the West episode of Sesame Street has been found, and like so many of these other like high profile things have been found. I would say that it is arguable, but like the holy grail of like the lost media community right now is the 1999 Super Smash Brothers live wrestling promo. So this was something, it was a sizable event. This was something that was filmed at the MGM Grand back in 99, and you had like, I think it was Mario, Donkey Kong, Pikachu, and maybe Yoshi, like all these all these four in like full get up, full attire, wrestling in a ring outside of the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Nevada. And it was not televised on television. It was this is gonna date me and you and anybody else who's like, oh yeah, they streamed it on Real Player.
Okay. Yes.
Yes, you remember Real
I
Player?
do. Yeah.
That thing that was on your computer that like kept like I just remember it like no matter what media that you selected, it was like, oh yeah, you want to open Media Player or Real Player? Yeah, that's what you want to do. No, that's not what I want to do. No, not really. So back in 1999, it streamed on Real Player. Like if you went to the website, you could you could watch it live, or you could like watch I think there were like clip shows afterwards that you could watch. It is seemingly non-existent, and let me tell you, the lost media community is relentless.
Yes.
They have pursued this from every single angle. They found out like who can we contact with Nintendo, who can we contact with the company that hosted this website, who could we contact with the people that filmed it, who could we contact the people that bought the company that filmed it, who could have archived it, and everybody who they've contacted who has not responded. They've been so kind. Like I imagine that there's a very spoken rule in the lost media community. Hey, don't hound people. Like leave like the search to like one or two people. Don't like bombard them with hundreds of emails from hundreds of people. Just leave it to like a handful of people. And like everybody's been very kind. Like, hey, look, I don't have it, but maybe this person has it. Let me give you their contact information. It's not like it's the search has been happening very actively for some years now. Nothing has turned up.
Yeah, I'm looking here. The status is still lost. It says
yes.
There's like some pictures of it.
Yes. Pictures from magazines as well as from I think archive.org. So we know that it exists, thankfully.
Right. What I really want to know is who the wrestlers were that were in the suits.
Right.
Because you would have most likely, maybe they could have just like put some stuntmen out there, but odds are, a lot of times wrestlers do double as stunt people on sets. So, I mean, that might be the case. So that's crazy, man. I really want to know. I really wonder who it was under the mascot heads. That played because that goes hand in hand with the ad campaign they were running, because they had those commercials where they were fighting each other in the suits.
Right. I'm sure you remember, like in the valley sort of setting.
Yeah.
I think they had like the song like "So Happy Together."
Yes. Yeah, that was what it was.
Something like that. But that kind of leads me into, and this is just me personally, and I'm sure that anybody who has gotten like in on a surface level appreciation but never really dug in themselves can also sort of share with me. So, and I feel like as much as this is so sought after, I feel like this is a good like bridging topic. Like as great as it could be to find from the screenshots alone, it looked like it was filmed with a webcam, like a 1999 webcam. It didn't look like it was like a multi-angle affair.
Mm-hmm.
So it looked like maybe one or two cameras tops. I'm sure once it's found, it's going to be like, well, there's that. Like highly compressed.
We really wanted that, didn't we? Yeah.
Which leads me into and I'm going to be frank here, the who the hell cares category. And I say this very flippantly because I'm sure that like there's some sort of like because like lost media just spans across so many genres and so many like I'm sure that there's some like Pops commercial, like Kellogg's Pops commercial that means the world to somebody out there, but like to the rest of everybody else in the world, it's literally, who the hell cares? There is a big community for lost dubs. So like say like lost like SpongeBob episodes that were dubbed in Latvian, that people are really, they're like, oh, we got, it's not even people who are Latvian. It's like people who are, just in the US, like, oh, we really got to find these Latvian episodes. It's just like, do you? Do you really? Right. And like there are exceptions to the rules.
Sure.
But because like sometimes it's like, yeah, the accent was real weird that they used here. It was not characteristic of SpongeBob at all. But then it's just like, yeah, there was this episode that aired in Portugal once, and for whatever reason, and it was fully dubbed, and they didn't air it again. We gotta find it. It's like
we have to have it because you can't find it on a DVD or something. So I mean, it's one of those things, like, because you do have like the real thing, like the real thing, the original thing, right?
God, there was one lost media case. It was a SpongeBob Got Milk commercial that people just went nuts over. And that was where I kind of like drew the line of like, I mean, yeah, if it makes people happy, yeah. Otherwise, I don't know. Like maybe we should devote this time to something else. And in the end, the SpongeBob SquarePants Got Milk commercial was found. So hey, good for them. I'm not knocking their enthusiasm. I'm not knocking their interest. I am just saying, me personally, that reaches the point of like, look, I don't even want to hear if it gets found. Just just leave that to the side.
You spend a lot of energy on that. Well, of course, another one was also the Chris Farley Shrek footage that was
which was found fairly recently, I think.
Yeah, found recently. Was crazy as a lot of it was just on YouTube, like posted on YouTube. The whole time. It was just like part of like a bunch of other like clips, like someone put like a demo reel or something like that up on YouTube, and it was there the whole time. And so they were able to put together like some storyboards and things like that. Which honestly, the movie turned out better than what it looked like it was going to be, from what they put in there. To begin with, I mean, it's a shame we lost Chris Farley. Don't get me wrong.
Of course.
It's just crazy because it was a very different movie. And actually, from what I remember reading about it too, was that in those early stages as well, DreamWorks was sending animators over there that couldn't keep up on other projects, and so it was like a punishment to go work on Shrek. Yeah,
that's not good.
And I guess whenever they had another shot at it, they were like, "Well, we'll show you." And they turned out, I mean, something. Well, there's about to be a fifth one, and there's also been like 2 Puss in Boots movies. I think maybe 3, actually on the side as well. So
yeah, there's 2 or 3, and like one of them apparently, like not the first one, but like either the second or the third one is apparently like a cinematic classic, which is just wild.
Puss in Boots. You're talking about Puss in Boots, or you're talking about
Puss in Boots? Like
yeah, The Last Wish. It's great. It's great. Yeah. I saw it in the theater with my daughter. It was actually really good.
It's so wild to like. Apparently, golly, I'm trying to think. There's a film, a CGI film with like a bear with a hat, Pimbleton, or what is it called?
I don't know. Pimbleton bear with hat. I'm looking for it right now.
Yeah.
Now I have to know.
Yeah.
Pimblet?
No. Humbl3 Fam, if you can,
no, that's not it. Patty Pimblet? No, that's a fighter.
Oh, Pat.
That's a UFC fighter.
Okay.
I don't know. I'll have to look it up. Humbl3 Fam, if you know, drop it in the comments. I want to know for sure.
Apparently, the second film is just so.
Oh, you're talking about just Paddington?
Paddington.
Oh yeah, no, Paddington 2. I actually have only seen the first one, but the second one's supposed to be a classic. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Sorry, I
supposed to be
thought
like
you were talking about something else totally. I thought you were talking about a completely like a Pixar DreamWorks animated type movie.
Look,
Paddington himself is just he's the only animated character, right? Or the bears, I guess, in general.
Yeah.
His grandparents
And
or whatever in it. Yeah, or aunt and
here's
uncle.
the thing about me. I know that like these days, there's a lot of like, hey, there's no such thing as like, kids movies or kids shows. It's everybody can enjoy these sorts of things. It doesn't matter who you are. Not to be the boring adult, but like I don't see those sorts of movies.
The first Paddington is very good.
Okay,
it is.
I
haven't seen the second one, but the first one is good. So if the second one's even just as good, it's worth watching.
Look, I'll watch it in my apartment by myself, drinking Colt 45.
There you go. Why not? Right?
Yeah.
Look, there's even a lost Pixar movie as well.
Really?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if they made the whole movie, but it was called Newt. It was about a newt, a little lizard guy.
I might have heard a little bit about
this. And let's see. What was the plot? Okay, I found the plot here. What happens when the last remaining male and female blue-footed newts on the planet are forced together by science to save the species, and they can't stand each other? That's the problem facing Newt and Brooke, heroes of Newt. The Pixar film by 7-time Academy Award winner for sound Gary Rydstrom and director of Pixar's Oscar-nominated short Lifted, Newt and Brooke embark on a perilous, unpredictable adventure and discover that finding a mate never goes as planned, even when you only have one choice. Love, it turns out, is not a science. So that was the plot of Newt. That would have come out around, I think, maybe 2012 was the idea. And then I think they ultimately released Brave. I think they were like, we have this movie Brave. It looks like it's going to work. We're going to just go with that instead.
And let me tell you, there are so many instances of, like, I mean, it sounds like they had, at least, wrote the script or like, storyboarded it or something. And like, which is a shame, but like, there are so many instances of pieces of media like being basically brought to completion. And it's just like, well, we don't know how to market this, so in the can it goes.
Yeah.
And I really hate that. I don't know if you were ever a fan of the Time Splitters series back in the PS2 days. That was one of my favorite games, and the fourth Time Splitters game was completely 100% made. And by this point, EA had owned, or they didn't own the rights, but like they were publishing the games, and they'd already published the third game, Future Perfect. Didn't have an issue with it. The fourth game, they were like, we don't know how to market this game. It doesn't really have a main character. I know the game is 100% complete, but we're not going to release it. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, look, games was another thing too that kind of would be, because Newt was in production whenever they canceled it. I don't see who the cast would have been, but they would have been. It looks like they were animating it or working on it, pretty heavily when they whenever it got canceled. But yeah, I mean, video games especially, man, there are like pretty much, there are a lot of them where like they were pretty much done. And then they said, no, we're just going to cancel this. We're not going to release it. But gaming is one of those things. It's weird, right? One or two bad mistakes from a game studio, and the studio will just disappear. It's crazy. It happens all the time.
Yeah. There was an instance of back in the PlayStation 1 days, there was going to be like this 4-person brawler that was going to be released that was like going to be like this insanely edgy, like bloody, gory nastiness that was like, it was brought nearly to completion. Like they submitted it to the ESRB. It wasn't denied. It was like, hey, we're going to release this with the dreaded AO rating. And they're like, okay, this can't come out. So it was retooled into a Wu-Tang Clan beat 'em up.
All right. Yeah. I do remember this now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking here right now. This says, according to the Video Game History Foundation, 87% of American video games released before 2010 are out of print and cannot be acquired outside of the gray market or piracy, and many of these titles are in danger of becoming lost or already are. 87%.
Which is why, I mean, this show don't have any don't have any sponsors, or at least respectable ones. So I 100% fully believe that everybody should pirate everything put out by a big company. They have no respect for what they have. They only see the short-term profitability. They don't care. They really do not care. Pirate everything that you can from big companies.
Yeah, there you go. You know, for the sake of preservation, okay, we're not telling you to seed it or anything like that. Just make sure that you can.
Also, this entire show is a parody for legal reasons.
Yes, of course. We know there's the whole Flappy Bird thing. Like the original Flappy Bird game is considered lost, I think, because it was just a mobile game and they took it off of off the.
I'm sure that the ISO's been ripped by now.
Oh, it has. There's plenty of clones of it out there. Yeah, but I'm talking about the original one.
Yeah.
There was a kind of an earlier Super Mario Brothers Battle Royale kind of game, Super Mario 35. I think there were some demos and screenshots released that never came out or whatever.
Oh yeah, that was the tech demo for the GameCube, right?
It might have been. I don't even know if that's even. Yeah. It might have even predated that. To be honest with you, I'm not really sure. There were all kinds of crazy things. Of course, expansion packs back in the day were a big thing. Before there was DLC, there were expansion packs, and a lot of those got canceled too. So I'm just curious, really, like, what is everyone out there's favorite bit of lost media? Something you've heard of that doesn't exist anymore. Maybe you saw it on TV one time and you can't find it anymore. You heard it on the radio one time and you cannot find it anymore. That's what I really want to know. Sometimes it's out there and you just don't know the name of it. You know, and that's one time I walked in on my friend whistling Cliffs of Dover into his phone.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, every now and then the tune to this song pops into my head and I don't know what it's called. So I'm trying to see if Shazam can figure it out. And I said, oh, that's Cliffs of Dover. And he was like, what?
Solved it for you.
I should have just asked you. You could have a long time ago. You could have just started asking people around, hey, do you know what this is? And then whistled it. Yeah, and that was it.
That was so difficult back in the day because, there were so many instances of, you heard a song on the radio and you only heard it, once or twice. And, of course, the DJ never said what it was.
Right.
And, you had to wait, 10 years to know what it was. But then you finally found out that it was Roll to Me by Delamitri.
Yeah, of course. You know? You found out that it was just You Gotta Be by Desiree.
You gotta be bad. You gotta be bad. You gotta be bad. You gotta be bad.
That's it. That's all you need to be is bad. Just so you know.
That's all you gotta be.
In case you know.
That's such a killer song. Whenever I think of the 90s, I think of Desiree's You Gotta Be.
Yeah. You know what? Yes, because it does. It sounds like the 90s. And I remember hearing it on the radio a lot back then. So. And it was catchy. It was catchy.
It was a killer track. No shade against Desiree. That was a really killer track.
Not at all. Go stream it right now on our rec. That's another recommendation song. How about that?
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, I really do want to know from the Humbl Fam, y'all. Leave us a comment below. Let us know what you think was your favorite bit of lost media. Some kind of internet lore out there about something that you maybe can't find or can only find little snippets of and not the entire thing. I really want to hear from all y'all out there. Y'all, check this out. Look, I want you to like this right now. If you're with me right now, I want you to like it. I want you to hit follow or subscribe, depending upon where you are. And make sure you're back here with us next week for another little visit here on The Humbl Show. But y'all, until then, stay humble.